Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Martin. Wearing glasses today, a little changing it up a little bit more. Hopefully you'll be able to see me because I see you a lot better than I usually do. But I want to make sure you're giving us a like and subscribe when you get on YouTube, familia. Please, por favor, give us a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And also make sure when you go to fantasypoints.com, you get the early bird price of 30% off right now. So there's no promo codes needed. You get the rest of the 2022 season and all of 2023. You get the best of the best, familia. Get in as soon as possible, all right? Because we are a proud member of the Fantasy Points Media Group. So, familia, you're here. We are here. Estamos aquí. It is time. It is playoff time. Playoffs. I can't do it like Jim Mora, but no, familia, you know what? It's the best of the best time. This is what we've been trying for. This is what we've been playing for, what we've been practicing. All of those live streams that you all jumped in on during the regular season, during draft time, before the draft. I mean, in March when we're talking about free agency, in May, actually, when we're talking about landing spots for the players, July, August, when we're talking about training camp, what's happening. This is what we are playing for. A lot of leagues, probably most leagues, are starting their playoffs week 15. That's what we are in right now. There are some leagues that have a playoff crunch this week. So this game, if you're in the playoffs, it's do or die. If you're playing for playoffs, it's do or die. The only people who are sitting pretty right now are the ones who have a bye weeks. And I'm in 7 playoffs. And there are 2 teams that start playoffs in week 16 that are Final Four, where I am positioned right now. But I still need to win to get in. So let's do it, familia. Let us do it. Okay. I'm just going to jump into the games right now, so I'm going to be able to break them down. Familia, if you got any questions anywhere, you want to throw them in the chat. I'll get to them as soon as I can wherever I'm going. So, familia, let's get to it. Vámonos. All right. Thursday night football, you got the San Francisco 49ers 9-4 at Seattle 7-6. The Niners are 3-point favorites, 43.5 point over under. It's 39. It's going to expect to be 39 degrees. Familia, it's cold out there right now. Maybe it's cold outside. So we're going to be seeing a lot of weather happening. Not a lot of snow like we saw in Buffalo last week, but just extreme cold. Some teams that aren't from that neck of the woods are going to be going into some pretty different temperatures. Either dome teams or fair weather teams are going to be there are quite a few that are going to be going to different places. So that's going to impact people. When we're looking at the 49ers, it's Brock Purdy. He's dealing with an oblique injury. Is he going to throw a lot? They really backed away from the passing game. Christian McCaffrey, he's all world. He's just going to be there. He's going to be doing everything. He's a no-brainer. He's probably going to, if you drafted him, there's a good chance he's going to win you your league, because he is just set up. This week, he's got the number 32 running back, the number 32 defense against the running back. They're giving up 171.5, they being the Seattle Seahawks. That 171.5 scrimmage yards to them. So I'm looking at George Kittle on this one, because remember, early part of the season, the Seattle Seahawks were really just getting torched by the tight end. Kittle, the last time where he was really featured, he caught 2 touchdowns, 84 yards on 4 receptions. That was in the Mexico game. Seattle, since week 10. Now, almost all of these stats that I'm going to talk about are since week 10. They're number 3 against the tight end. But remember, Taysom Hill had that monster game against them early part of the season, where he had the 4 TDs, technically where he was a tight end. I'm looking at Kittle to still be adentro. I don't think Purdy is going to be throwing too much. Deebo Samuel is expected to be out of this game, so it's really just going to be. I think it's going to be funneling passes to McCaffrey, some to Kittle, and some to Ayuk, and those are going to be the featured performers. On the other side, we got some good news on the health side from Kenneth Walker. Today, he was declared healthy. So, familia, this is a guy that in his last 4 healthy games, these are his touch totals: 19, 29, 16, and 5. Okay. And, but here's the thing. The 49ers have allowed no more than 59 rushing yards to any running back this season, and they're allowing 43 rushing yards per game, number 3 against the running back in that span. You know what? I You're starting Kenneth Walker almost exclusively, because if he's your RB2, you've got to start him. If he's in a flex position, I think you really look at putting a receiver in there, unless you're really, really stuck, because these 49ers, you shall not run against them. And coming off the injury, who knows how well he's going to be, even in a home game. So we got 3 games on Saturday, Familia. 3 games. And it's awesome. I love that. Love the Saturday games. And I know, Alberto, I know you love Saturday games because you love football. Gracias for joining us, mi amigo. Muchas gracias. If you got any questions, throw them in the chat, okay? I'll jump into them as soon as I can. I'm working through the show sheet a little bit, but I want to make, I'm looking at these games. The first game, you got Indianapolis 4-8-1 at Minnesota 10-2. The Vikings are 4-point favorites. It's a 48-point over/under. So you got a dome game. You got the Colts. I'm looking at Michael Pittman as someone to feature in this week. Matt Ryan has just not been good, but the thing is, he still looks for Pittman. He threw at him 11 times in that Steelers game on Monday Night Football. So what do we make of this? Okay, he's getting featured, but he only has two games of 100 plus yards this season. So I'm looking at this game. I think it's a close game. It's going to be a competitive game script. The point spread is going to call for a lot of points, and looking like the Colts are going to score about 22 points according to Vegas. But you know what? They're going against that Vikings defense that's number 32 against the wide receiver, giving up just 235.8 yards per game, just the wide receivers, over 300 yards passing. DJ Chark just hit him for six catches, 94 yards. Garrett Wilson got 162 yards on it. I'm very much of that throw on Michael Pittman. I'm starting him in Scott Fishbowl. Let's go to the other side. You got Dalvin Cook. These are his touches the last 3 games, 26, 22, and 16, Familia. So he is getting featured. He is getting plenty of carries. Last 3 games, there's only been 11 touches that did not go to Cook, that from running backs by the Vikings. And you got the Colts, they're number 31 against the running backs, 144.2 scrimmage yards per game. Cowboys lit them up for 197 yards. The Steelers got 131 yards. Dalvin Cook, I think he's going to have a big game on this one. And they get Christian Darrisaw back in this one. He's expected to be back. So that's big for the offensive line, opening up some holes. Next game, Baltimore is going to at 9-4 is going to Cleveland 5-8. Cleveland is 2.5-point favorites. It's 37 point over/under, 24 degrees and overcast on that day. So it's going to be chilly. This is AFC North weather, Familia. And you know what? Bienvenido. Welcome back to J.K. Dobbins. 15 carries, 120 yards, 1 touchdown in the last game. He had 15 of the 38 rushing attempts that the Ravens had. But here's one thing to keep in mind. He had 0 routes run. There was that long run that he had where it did not look, it looked like he was struggling a little bit, like he might have a little bit of burst problem. But you know what? You're starting your running backs against Cleveland, Familia. Okay, he's number 27. The Browns are number 27 against the running back, allowing 167.8 scrimmage yards per game to the running backs. J.K. Dobbins may not look pretty, but it hopefully is going to be looking pretty for him next year. Let's go to the other side. Nick Chubb. Okay, Deshaun Watson's still shaking off the rust, but he did pass the ball 42 times last week to kind of just offset things a little bit more, kind of balance out the offense. Chubb was really bottled up in that game, but I'm looking at this game. This is going to be kind of the best of the best going up against each other. You got Chubb, one of the best running backs in the NFL. You got Baltimore, 45.5 rushing yards per game allowed. And, I think this is going to be a beautiful matchup on this one. I think Chubb's going to end up having quite a few, he's going to have to earn his yards. I don't think he gets to 100 yards, but I think he could go 1780 like he did 2 weeks ago. Najee Harris, only 33 rushing yards against them last week. Latavius Murray only 47 yards the previous week. You know what, Familia? In a do or die playoff game, I've got Nick Chubb. I'm not sitting him. You know what? You dance with who brung you, and I think he is still going to get featured as Deshaun Watson is shaking off the rust. On Sunday night football, I mean Saturday night football, so there's no college, so that's gonna be cool. I love this. It's almost like Thanksgiving Day all over again, where you get the three island games going back, and just back to back to back. Got Miami 8-5 coming off a 2-game losing streak in California, at Buffalo 10-3. Buffalo is 7-point favorites. It's a 42-point over under, so not a lot of points expected in this one. 23 degrees and overcast in this game. So this is going to be the first game for Tua Tagovailoa in extreme cold. Remember, he's just on the West Coast, played a game in San Francisco and then a dome game. And then he's got another one at New England in week 17. The schedule makers did not do any favors to the Dolphins, giving them these 2 games in December. So I think the last game, the week 17, is going to be January 1st. So let's go back to week 2, where it was just, it was week 3, where Miami, everything was flying high. They had just torn apart the Ravens, and then they had just that trench warfare that they had, where they got 100, where the Dolphins, Tua only got 186 yards and 1 touchdown in that one. How's he going to respond playing in extreme cold? Remember, they didn't play in extreme cold in Alabama in November. I mean, it was cold, but it wasn't sub-freezing temperatures. The Buffalo Bills got Tre'Davious White. He played all 51 coverage snaps last week. They caught their number 14 against the wide receiver, 277 passing yards per game allowed. Mike White got him for 268 yards and no touchdowns last week. Mac Jones 195 yards and 1 touchdown. You know what? You're not sitting Tua, but you know what? I'm not feeling good about playing him, Familia. Not feeling good. I'm going to be afuera on him. I know you got to play him, but this is going to be a rough week for him playing in the cold. I mean, I can't emphasize enough. Teams from good weather going into extreme cold, they struggle. Josh Allen is used to the extreme cold. And, and here's the thing, the best way to attack the Dolphins is going to be on the ground. But you know what? The Buffalo Bills have a 3-way committee going on right now. Nobody is dominating the touches. It could be Cook. It could be Singletary. Even Nyheim Hines is getting worked in a little bit more. Familia. I can't recommend any one of them in a playoff push. Maybe in a deep league, you're going to play Cook or Singletary. I'm not recommending Nyheim Hines. Josh Allen, you got to play him. He had 63 passing attempts in the last game, and passed for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, rushed for another 47 yards. But you know what? Since he got that elbow injury, he hasn't had more than 253 passing yards in any game since the injury. But you know what? I think the way to attack the Dolphins in this game, it's gonna have to be a little bit through the air with Josh Allen, because Familia, I mean, Justin Herbert just took them apart for 367 yards and a touchdown. Brock Purdy threw for 2 touchdowns, 210 yards. The Dolphins, they're getting beat a little bit in the air. So I think you're never sitting Josh Allen, but I think this could be the game. And we're about a month out from his elbow injury. So maybe he's now getting, and he had extra time since the game. So maybe, he's going to be back to himself in this one and could be a nuclear game. Speaking of nuclear games, Jalen Hurts has just been in fuego. Caliente, caliente, caliente. You just play him all the time. In fact, I was on the Fantasy Millionaires a couple days ago, and we were talking about the fact that, you just build lineups around one guy. And I'm starting to think about doing a lot of lineups that are Jalen Hurts centric. So, and you just play him in DFS in DraftKings. That's where I love to play. And I'll be putting out, a little bit more in-depth content on this one at FamiliaFFB.com. But it's a possible big game for Miles Sanders if they feed him. The Bears are number 24 against the running back, allowing 155 rush scrimmage yards to the running back position. But Brown in his last 2 games has 12 catches, 189 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Bears are allowing 142 passing yards to the game, passing yards per game to the wide receivers alone. And the wide receiver ones have been beating them up. Christian Watson took him for 94 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson got 95 yards on 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns. So, I really like me some AJ Brown this week to possibly have himself another big week. Another one. Oh, mi amigo Craig Reith. We're in the Final Four. In the Joey Wright FC Eliminators. Salud, brother. We are en fuego on that one. That is fun. I don't recommend the steel cage match with G-Man J. So no, I don't think so. I don't think we need to do that one. So let's have some fun on that one. And what has been fun, Familia, is Justin Fields lately. I mean, we were all worried about him playing in week 13. We all thought he was going to be sitting, with the bye week coming in week 14. But you know what? This is, it's beautiful to be young and be able to play through an injury like that. He still ran for 71 yards and a touchdown, had another beautiful run on there, threw for 254 yards. So he's the QB1 from week 7 to 13 with 16 total touchdowns in this one. The Philly has not had any big rushing weeks. Kyler Murray was kind of the biggest one, but he only rushed 4 times for 42 yards. They're going to get tested in this one. The Eagles are going to put up big yards. And you know what? I think this is going to be a fun game. 48.5 point over under. It's good. Now, one thing to keep in mind, this is a betting alert that I put out there. The home underdog. This is the Bears are more than 4 wins behind the Eagles. It's a 9-point +9. I think they're going to cover. Home underdog. I think they're going to cover. I think Justin Fields is going to put up some points for them. All right, let's go to Atlanta. Not Atlanta. Atlanta 5-8 at New Orleans 4-9. New Orleans is 4-point favorites. 43 point over under. Familia, this is going to be the debut for Desmond Ridder. I don't know where to, what kind of expectation to put on for him. I look at him and I think there's going to be some rushing floor for him. He's the uber athlete, one of the best athletes, probably the greatest athletic scorers from the NFL Combine. But you know what? I think there's going to be some growing pains. Marshawn Lattimore is going to be lurking on the other side. He's going to be back and healthy. I think that's going to impact Drake London. Familia, I've got a start-sit decision with him in one of the leagues where I have a do-or-die game. I'm probably going to be sitting him. It's going to be a tough one. The Saints, I mean, they've still got some good defenders out there, but and the receivers, when I'm looking at the receivers, I mean, Mike Evans got him for 59 yards in week 13. Brandon Ayuk got 65 yards against them in week 12. Tutu Atwell got 62 yards against them, when the Rams were trying to figure out the quarterback situation. I don't think I think what's going to happen, it's going to be more of the same. It's going to be a rushing game script from Atlanta, and they're going to be giving the ball a lot to Tyler Algier, Cordarrelle Patterson, and I don't think there's going to be a lot coming to Drake London. On the New Orleans side, it's Alvin Kamara. Familia, this is going to be a do-or-die game for Alvin Kamara. It's just just no way, shape, or form, no way about it. Because here's the thing with him, the Atlanta Falcons, they have not been good against on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they've just not been good, and they've been pretty bad a lot, especially against the running game. Najee Harris took him for 86 yards. And then in week 13, week 12, Brian Robinson, 125 total yards and a touchdown. Yeah, David Montgomery, 121 yards in week 11. So, I mean, I look at this one. It's not going to be, the 9 carries and 39 yards that Alvin Kamara got in week 1 when he was kind of shaken free through some injuries. I think this is going to be a do or die game. You've got Alvin Kamara. He's got to play. You've got to play him. And yes, no steel cages, amigo Craig, amigo. No cages, no steel cages. All right, let's go over to our next game on so we're working through the Sunday slate. The Detroit Lions 6-7 at New York Jets 7-6. It's an even point spread, 44.5 point over under, 30 degrees and clear, freezing temperatures. The Lions just had a 3-game homestand, and they're looking great right now. But you know what is sitting waiting for them? We already talked about the cold weather. The wind can become a real thing at MetLife Stadium. So that's going to be another thing. It's not expected to come up, but the wind gusts, I've heard plenty of quarterbacks, Mark Sanchez being the most recent one to talk about it, that the wind it can just be howling and just make passing almost impossible in that place on certain throws. Jared Goff, he's wonderful at home. 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in his home games, but on the road, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Sauce Gardner and his Familia are waiting on the other side. Quarterbacks, there has not been a 300-yard passer against the Jets all season. Josh Allen only had 147 passing yards last week. It was in the snow. Kirk Cousins 173 yards the previous week. It's just it's not going to be a good game for Jared Goff. I think the Lions come back down to earth, and the Eagles keep their playoff hopes alive. I think I'm a foot on him. On the other side, Zonovan Knight. Oh my goodness, what a find for this young man. I am just so happy for him. I mean, these are the touches for him. 19 touches last week, 20 touches the previous week, 17 touches the previous week. His yards after contact are some of the best in the NFL. Go check out Stat Pack by Graham Barfield. He was talking about the fact, I think he's number 3 in yards after contact over the last 3 weeks. Zonovan Knight, he's a find. You got him on the waiver wire. You're starting him, Familia. Beautiful. Now let's go to Carolina. Carolina on my mind. You got the 5-8 Pittsburgh Steelers at Carolina, 5-8. Also, Carolina 2.5 point favorites, 37.5 over under, 36 degrees clear. Cold weather. I mean, this game actually could be similar to an AFC North kind of game, because the Panthers, the way they're doing it right now, they're running the ball. And the Steelers, the way they got to attack these Carolina Panthers is going to be through the air. Is going to be, I'm sorry, not through the air, on the ground. I mean, the Panthers, Familia, they are against quarterbacks. They are, let's see where they are, since week 10. So they're still there. I mean, they've got that good secondary. J.C. Horn is back there lurking. They're number 15, only giving him 200.2 passing yards to the quarterback. But for the running backs, they have been generous, Familia. They have been quite generous on the season. The running backs have been giving up some yardage. They've been giving up some yardage to the running backs, in the last several weeks. Let's see. I mean, last week you forget about the Seattle game, but because they just didn't try and run the ball, they had to throw it. But the previous week, Latavius Murray, 92 yards rushing, and then Baltimore, they just used everybody. They hit them for 80 total rushing yards. This one is going to be just it's going to be featuring Najee Harris, Familia. I'm not then throwing him. You know what? You got to keep an eye on the practice reports. He did miss today on Wednesday, but it's more than likely a maintenance day for him. I'm not then throwing him. On the other side, you got I'm looking at DJ Moore. He's coming off an injury, but he was a full participant after his own ankle injury. But Familia, it hasn't looked pretty. They are not passing the ball. They being the Panthers, they're just not passing the ball enough for it to make sense. In his last game, he had 3 targets. Previous game, 6 targets, 5 targets. This is not what you're expecting from a guy that you drafted in the 5th or 6th round of fantasy drafts. If you've got another option, you're gonna put him out there, because I mean it's just not pretty. Sam Darnold is just not throwing that often. He only had 120 passing yards last week, 164 the previous game. So I'm afuera on DJ Moore. All right, let's go over to Jacksonville, Duval County, Familia. You got the Dallas Cowboys 10-3 at Jacksonville 5-8. Dallas is 4-point favorites, 47.5-point over under. This is the home team formula. Home team with at least four fewer wins, less than the visitor, and they're an underdog. 4 points. This is going to be a close game. This is going to be closer than 4 points for me there. Bet on that one. So, and I'm also looking at CeeDee Lamb in this one, Familia, and the targets to him have been good. He only had 6 last week, but you know what? That was the weird game against the Texans. But consistently, he's got 6 games with 10 plus targets, and Familia, the Jaguars. Their defense has not been that great this season. They're, since week 10, they are number 21, giving up 156 receiving yards to wide receivers. So I mean, they're beatable, Familia. They are beatable. I mean, it's what was it? I'm looking at what people did against them last week. It was I'm getting down there. I mean, not last week, but it was the previous week. Amon-Ra St. Brown took them for 114 yards, because last week it was Tennessee, and though Chiga Okonkwo had himself a game, but the previous week you had Baltimore. They don't throw a lot, but they're beatable. That defense is beatable. The Jaguars, I'm expecting some yardage out of CeeDee Lamb. You're still playing Tony Pollard. You're still playing Ezekiel Elliott. Those guys, because you can also run against the Jags. On the other side, Trevor Lawrence. Now this is going to be interesting, Familia, because how is the pass rush is it going to get home, or are they going to be able to protect him? You got the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys. I mean, they have not allowed a 300-yard passer since week 5. That was Matthew Stafford. That just feels like a long time ago, Familia. But Davis Mills, not a big game. Matt Ryan just got roasted for 200. Held at 233 yards. Daniel Jones. The big one was shutting down Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, shutting him down 105 yards. Familia, this could be a rough game for Trevor Lawrence. The Dallas Cowboys, you know what? Can they give up some rushing yards? Damian Pierce got him for 78 yards last week. Jonathan Taylor went for 82 yards the previous week. I think it's going to be more of a Travis Etienne game, but I think they're going to be able to kind of hold things down a little bit. I still like the Jaguars to maybe not win, but I think they're going to cover. Another game that's going to have that's very interesting, featuring the team with 4 point, with 4 fewer wins. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs at the Houston Texans. The Chiefs are 10-3. Texans 11-1 right now. They are well in line for the number 1 pick in the draft. KC is 14-point favorites, 49.5-point over under. So, I mean, what is this game? This game's what, like 32-18 thereabouts. So that's what's expected to be for this game. Patrick Mahomes is gonna. this is going to be interesting because Patrick Mahomes in pristine conditions is going to have time to throw. But you know what? These Texans have been pretty good against the pass, but they're going to get tested on this one. Very much going to get tested on this one. Right now, they're only allowing 221.6 passing yards to the quarterback since week 10. That's number 2 in and they're number 2 in fantasy points per game allowed to the position. So what's going to give? I'm going with the QB1, Familia. So that one, and but the other thing I'm looking at is what's going to happen with the running back. It's Isaiah Pacheco, vámonos. He's gonna have himself a game. I mean, these are his touches in the last several games. I mean, he had 16, 23, 15, 16. He's getting the ball. Jared McKinnon did have himself a game. He turned 13 touches into 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. But you know what? They're going to be giving those grinded out runs to Pacheco, and he's going to have himself a game, Familia. He's gonna have himself a game. Oh, just say quick hello real quick to Dame Overboard and otro meow meow to Mr. Scampers. Muchas gracias for joining us, Familia. Muchas gracias. You guys are Familia very much. Hope you're enjoying the holiday cheer right now. So Pacheco, you're starting him. I'm very much adentro on him. On the Houston Texans side, you got Chris Moore. Now, we're not sure if any other receivers can be playing for them. I mean, I think we're expecting Brandon Cooks not to get too much, not to be active in any more games this season. Nico Collins still not practicing. You had Chris Moore last week who got, I mean, he had himself a game, Familia. He turned in. Let me look at his numbers real quick. He 10 catches, 124 yards. So, and you got the Chiefs who have been getting beaten in the air of late. I mean, Jerry Jeudy took him for 3 touchdowns last week for me. And that actually saved me. That 30-point effort saved me in one of my leagues. It got me a victory. But you know what? Wide receivers against Kansas City, they've been generous against them. So again, I mentioned Jeudy last week. Jamar Chase, 97 yards on 7 receptions the previous week. In week 11, Joshua Palmer, 106 yards. Keenan Allen, 94 yards. Christian Kirk in week 10, 105 yards. See a trend. Teams are trying to keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're doing it through the air, Familia. So, Chris Moore, if he's the only one who's getting it, make sure you're getting him in your lineup. Let's see. So let's go over. Let's keep finishing this off. Let's finish strong. Arizona 4-9 at Denver 3-10. You got Denver 2.5-point favorites, 36 point over under. This is expected to be a low number. It's going to be at altitude, 44 degrees, partly cloudy. The Cardinals, let's light a veladora for Kyler Murray, Familia. I mean, it's just eso duele. You know what? He was one of my guys coming into the season. Was not having the season that I wanted him to have. I mean, but you know what? I was really starting to be hopeful for a playoff run a little bit, but that rushing attempt, now let's also keep something in mind. People have been squawking that that it was turf. They play on grass. It's an indoor stadium, but they have the grass on they have the grass field on wheels, so they actually wheel it out during the week, and then on day games they bring it in and they're able to play on it. And so you know what, it was just bad luck. Lo sentimos bien mucho. So rehab well. Dr. Evan Porras has talked about 10 months at kind of like being that minimum 9 to 10 months. But really, a lot of times he's talking about 12 months from the date of the surgery. We don't know if he's had surgery yet. So 12 months, that's now next year. So look at where we are. We're in the fantasy playoffs. So I don't know if I don't know what we could count on for Kyler Murray next year. So what we have to count on is DeAndre Hopkins, Familia, and he's been He's been so good, but I'm looking at week 11, last game that he was with Colt McCoy, and 9 catches, 91 yards, 10 catches, 98 yards the previous week. They still have enough of a connection. So what are we going to look at with DeAndre Hopkins going up against one of the best secondaries, that being Denver? But you know what? Here's the thing. Patrick Surtain, he got beat up by one of the best cover corners in the NFL. I mean, one of the best receivers, Devontae Adams. What is DeAndre Hopkins? He's one of the best receivers. He's a physical presence. He's a large receiver. He's a contested catch guy. I think you still start DeAndre Hopkins with with confidence. I think it's going to be I think he's going to be able to beat any kind of coverage that's coming at him. On the other side, Familia, I can't recommend anybody. I really would love to recommend Jerry Jeudy coming off of that big game, but it's more than likely going to be Brett Rippon who's going to be on the other side. I can't in good conscience recommend that. I actually have that decision coming, facing that myself, where I have 2 flex positions and I have 3 guys: Christian Watson, Brian Robinson, and Jerry Jeudy. I don't know if I can start him on that one. So I'm technically right now I'm afuera. May start him, but I can't recommend him. Let's go to Vegas, baby. Vegas. New England 7-6 at Las Vegas 5-8. You got New England 1-point favorites, 44.5-point over under, road dogs. But you know what? On the Patriots side, there's no one I can recommend unless Ramondre Stevenson is healthy. It's just the running backs are going to be the ball's going to be spread around. The receivers, no one's been a dominator. I don't like it. I don't like it. On the other side, though, Familia, it's going to be a little something different, because it's going to be, as I just mentioned, Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the NFL, against one of the best secondaries in the NFL, that being New England. I mean, the Patriots are holding quarterbacks to 213.5 passing yards in the last, since week 10. That's and they're giving them they're number 8 in fantasy points per game allowed. I'm looking at him, and I'm looking, it's going to be a tough game, but you know what? It's a home game. Devontae Adams has torched everybody. He brought you here. I think he's going to deliver for you, Familia. He's going to deliver very much adentro on that one. So closing up shop, we got only a couple more games to talk about. You got Tennessee 7-6 at the Chargers 7-6. Chargers 3-point favorites, 47.5-point over under. It's going to be the fast track. The Chargers have been looking great. The Titans, keep an eye on Treylon Burks, because he could be coming back. You're starting Derrick Henry, Familia. The Chargers are one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. I mean, they're just giving up yardage left and right. I'm looking at them. Let's see, their yards per game are, where is that number? 122 just rushing yards per game to the running backs. So, it's just, you're starting Derrick Henry. I think it could be a big game for him, possibly looking at him on the DFS side. But but I'm also looking at Treylon Burks on this one. The Chargers kind of found themselves a little bit defensively last week, did a great job defending against Tua Tagovailoa. Treylon Burks coming back, possibly first game back off of a concussion. I think it's going to be a rough game for him. I mean, the Chargers, again, they shut down Tua. I think he was 3 of 17 at halftime. So, came back a little bit, got some long passes to Tyreek Hill. But you know what? Treylon Burks, I think it's going to be a rough one for him. So I'm afuera on him. On the other side, you got the Chargers. You got Mike Williams. Oh, you just start your wide receivers against the Titans, Familia. You just do that. Your wide receivers, your pass catchers. This is a team that's number 31 against the wide receivers, giving up 196 yards, just the wide receivers alone. I mean, oh, Familia, it's so juicy. I want to attack the wide receivers every time. And, you have Mike Williams, he got 120 yards last week, and it's so juicy. I mean, on the Titans side, who was it they got beat up by? I'm looking real quick to see who they got beat up by last week. I mean, it was Zay Jones catching eight balls for 77 yards. The previous week, Devonta Smith and AJ Brown both went over 100 yards, 3 total touchdowns. T Higgins 114 yards, on 7 receptions in week 12. Familia, you start your wide receivers against the Titans. It's you just go into that one. A game I'm really excited about is Bengals 9-4 at Tampa Bay 6-7. You got the Bengals 3.5-point favorites, 44-point over under. It's 53 degrees. It's going to be beautiful football weather in Tampa, so it's going to be nice. Joe Burrow, Familia, he has been so good. He has just been so good. I mean, last week being able to outduel outduel Patrick Mahomes, and then he got his first win last week against the Browns. I mean, he's got 3 first place finish, QB1 finishes on the season. I think this is going to be a fun one because Tampa is just they've been struggling, Familia. They've been struggling on defense a little bit. I mean, it's on the passing side. They are, let's see, they're number 19. They're giving a 227 passing yards per game. It's not a great game, but you know what? Some of the guys that they've faced, not the greatest, but you know what? I mean, Brock Purdy did take them for 185 yards, but you know what? The most recent time that they faced one of the top quarterbacks, the top 10 quarterback, Geno Smith, week 10, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, added 22 yards on the ground. But you know what? They haven't faced yet Joe Burrow caliber quarterbacks. I'm looking back. I mean, Patrick Mahomes got them for 249 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think I'm calling this is going to be the first game that they give up a 300-yard passer, Familia. And they came close against Geno Smith. Joe Burrow is going to take them over. Keep in mind, T Higgins and played only 1 snap last week. Tyler Boyd, both are expected to be out. I'm stacking at least 1 game with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase because I think he's just going to feed Chase all day long. So on the other side, you got you've got Rachaad White. I'm looking at him. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough sledding for Tom Brady because the offensive line is doing him no favors. One thing, Trey Hendrickson, their ace, the Bengals ace pass rusher, is supposed to be missing this game, but you know what? They've still got enough pass rush. It's still going to be tough. So I think they're going to try and feature Rachaad White a little bit more of the running game. Leonard Fournette did get a few touches. He got 10 touches in the last game, but Rachaad White got 18. So the previous game, they were 15 and 16, 15 being for Rachaad White. But I'm looking at White. It's the Bengals. They're sneaky good on defense. So I think while Tampa's going to have to try and do it, the Bengals, they're only allowing 75 rushing yards to the running backs. That's good, and they were only giving in fantasy points per game. They're number 19. I don't know if I can recommend Rachaad White with your playoffs on the line, Familia. Not my foot on him. Let's go over to Sunday Night Football. We're closing up shop, closing up strong, Familia. We are here for you. We got the Giants 7-5-1 at the Washington Commanders 7-5-1. How fitting that they're tied when the last game that they played 2 weeks ago ended up in a 20-20 tie. Washington being the home team, 4.5-point favorites, 40.5 over under, 33 degrees and clear. Daniel Jones, Familia, it has not been fun for him, Familia. I think that the Giants themselves, I kind of feel like they're a team that's just kind of limping to the end right now. Daniel Jones, he gets some rushing yards, a little bit there, but really, he's had 1 300-yard game on the season, passing wise. Just I'm looking at in the last game against the Eagles, where it was a runaway. That was his first game with 2 touchdowns since week 11, and that was 2 touchdowns total, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. But it's it's hard to expect much of anything. His receivers, he doesn't have a lot of weapons out there. Saquon Barkley has been dealing with a neck injury. His yards after contact have been really come down. I'm afuera on Daniel Jones. Do not put your, unless it's a super flex league, do not put your playoffs on his shoulders, on his right arm. One guy that I am looking to put the ball on, in his hand, Brian Robinson, Familia. Brian Robinson has just been really good of late, Familia. I mean, I'm looking at him in his last 2 games. You know, he had 111 yards, 111 total yards. Then he had 125 total yards. Both games, he went over 20 touches. He's getting featured on this one. And then the Giants, they're starting to leak oil. I mean, the Miles Sanders took him for 144 yards last week. As I mentioned, Brian Robinson the previous week he got the 111. Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard combined for 152 rushing yards. Brian Robinson is one of those guys that I'm really looking for him to have a big game. So I'm very much on that throwing him. Monday Night Football, Rams 4-9 at Green Bay 5-8. Closing up strong. Green Bay 7-point favorites. 39.5 point over under. It's going to be cold, Familia. It's going to be cold. It's going to be about 10 degrees at game time. It's going to be cloudy. Baker Mayfield, Familia. The story was great, but in these extreme cold weather, it's a California team going into that cold. I still have vivid memories of my Rams going to Minnesota when it was in the 70s, when the Rams and the Vikings were two of the 3 best teams in the NFC, and the Rams always coming up empty because of the fact that the Vikings played in that weather. Baker Mayfield was a great story, but Familia, I just think even having the extra days to practice, I don't see it happening for him. I just don't see it happening for him. The Packers, they still have a very good, they have a decent pass rush. They have a good secondary. They have yet to give up. Let me see. And they did give up 333 passing yards to Tennessee and Ryan Tannehill in week 11, but the rest of the season, no 300-yard passers. Justin Fields did get him for 254, but this is not going. There's no rushing threat with Baker Mayfield anything near that's with Justin Fields. I'm afuera on Baker Mayfield this week. On the other side, AJ Dillon, it's starting to come around. Okay, it's Aaron Jones. He had himself he had himself a little injury scare. Hopefully he's all the way better. Haven't seen any reports, but you know what? In that last game, AJ Dillon had 119 yards, 93 of them on the ground, and a touchdown. This is his kind of weather. They're going to feed him the ball. The Rams, they still don't. They still are. They've really balled out of late, but you know what? I think this is going to be a game where it's not. The extreme conditions are just going to be too tough for them. I think AJ Dillon, if you got him, I recommend starting him. I'm very much on that throwing him. So, we went through 16 games, 16 for 16. Muchas gracias for joining us, everybody. I really appreciate it. Please make sure you're following me at Jorge Martin 17. Also, please make sure you're going to YouTube, giving that thumbs up, giving that like and subscribe. Por favor, make sure we always need more subscribers. Por favor. Also, go to FamiliaFFB.com. I'm going to be having a couple of 1 or 2 articles, depending on if I want to break them up into 2, breaking down all these games. And also make sure you're going to Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcast. You can listen to it there. Thank you to Anchor for putting us out there. So everybody, good luck, mucha suerte in your fantasy playoffs. If you're in the Scott Fish Bowl, I believe Dame Overboard, I think you're still in there. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it pumping. Everybody, remember, todos somos familia. Salud. And good luck on your fantasy football playoffs. Adios, everybody.